Okay, so get ready, because tonight we are going deep into some pretty weird stuff.
Yeah, weird is a good word for it.
We're talking UFO sightings,
Yeah.
mysterious lights, a whole bunch of questions, no real answers.
Classic UFO stuff, right?
Exactly. But this one is called the Fremont Incident, and it happened in the Nevada desert, so of course.
Area 51, right. Gotta be aliens.
Well, we're going to find out. But the really interesting thing about this one is we have a ton of firsthand accounts.
Oh, wow. So not just like grainy photos and things like that?
Nope, we have actual reports, official documents, and even some evidence.
Evidence, that's not so common.
That's what makes this one so interesting. It's not just lights in the sky. There's a real mystery here.
I'm intrigued. So where do we start with this?
Let's start with the star of the show, I guess you could say. A guy named Robert Lee Armstrong.
Okay, I don't think I know that name.
Yeah, he was a police officer in Fremont, Nevada, back in the 1970s. Seems like a pretty normal stand-up guy.
Small town cop, yeah, okay.
Yeah, and one night, he's out on patrol.
Quiet night, just cruising around.
Exactly, and then bam, explosion.
Explosion, like what do you mean?
A big one, apparently. Witnesses said there was this huge flash, like blinding, and then this weird light.
Oh, so that's where the lights come in. What color were we talking about?
Greenish blue, kind of an eerie glow.
So it sounds like a pretty big deal, and this is coming from multiple people.
Yeah, multiple people saw this thing.
Okay, wow.
And it was all coming from this canyon nearby.
Okay, so what did Armstrong do? Did he just book it out of there?
No. He actually, he went towards the light to check it out.
That's brave. I don't think I'd be running towards a mysterious explosion and glowing lights.
He was a cop. I guess it was in his nature to investigate.
That's true. So what did he find?
And what he finds is just wild. There are these three round objects.
Round objects, like discs.
Yeah, kind of like that. And they're hovering near the canyon rim, just floating there.
No way, seriously.
Yeah, and they were glowing with that same green-blue light.
So this is what, just Armstrong saw this?
Well, he called it in, obviously, and his partner showed up.
Oh, right, of course. Gotta have backup.
And when his partner got there, they found something else weird. Scorch marks on the ground.
Scorch marks like something was burning there?
Yeah, right underneath where those objects were hovering.
Whoa. Okay, so now we're talking, this isn't just lights. This is something real, something that left a trace.
Right. And it gets weirder. Armstrong said he saw figures moving inside these objects.
Figures? You mean like people?
He wasn't sure, but there was definitely something moving around in there.
I'd be freaking out at this point. What did they do?
Well, after that, things escalated pretty quickly. The incident got reported up the chain of command and landed on the desk of Project Bluebook.
Ah, Project Bluebook. Now that's a name you hear a lot in UFO circles.
Exactly, the Air Force's official UFO investigation team back in the day.
So the big guns came in to figure this thing out.
Yep. They assigned two investigators to the case, Major Jake Gatlin and Sergeant Harry Fitz.
So what did they do? Start by grilling Armstrong and his partner.
Yeah, they went through the whole 9 yards, took detailed statements, went to the site, the whole investigative shebang.
I bet Armstrong was feeling the pressure. I mean, having your story scrutinized by the Air Force?
I can't imagine, but it doesn't stop there.
What else happened?
Well, as they're investigating, they start hearing about other sightings in the area.
Other sightings. So Armstrong wasn't the only one who saw something strange.
Nope. Apparently, a gas station attendant named Frank Marco saw some weird lights around the same time.
Okay, and where was this gas station, like nearby?
Yeah, just outside of town. And then, get this, a traveling salesman named Albert Harker, he reported seeing something too.
So multiple witnesses all seeing strange lights in the sky. This is starting to sound like a pattern.
Right, and it gets even weirder. One of the witnesses claimed to have received a message.
A message, like take me to your leader kind of message.
Not quite, but almost. They said they received a message in Morse code from the lights.
Morse code. That's crazy. So we've got multiple witnesses, lights in the sky, scorch marks on the ground, figures moving inside objects, and now Morse code. This Fremont incident is sounding more and more like an X-Files episode every minute.
It really is. But remember, these are first-hand accounts. We're talking about real people who believe they saw and experienced something truly extraordinary.
Right, not just some made-up story. And it's not over yet, is it?
Oh, no, not even close. Around the same time, something else happened. This time it was in Carson City, not far from Fremont. An object crashed through the roof of a house.
Wait, an object? Like a piece of one of the UFOs?
We don't know for sure, but this object ended up embedded in the guy's attic.
Oh man, can you imagine just chilling in your house, and then bam, a UFO part crashes through your roof. That's gotta be terrifying.
The homeowner, guy named Henry Marsden, he was pretty freaked out, to say the least. And the object, it was covered in these weird symbols.
Symbols, like what kind of symbols?
People started calling them hieroglyphics because they were so strange.
So now we've got mysterious symbols on top of everything else. What did the Air Force make of all this?
Well, they had their work cut out for them, for sure. They started exploring all sorts of explanations.
Like what? Little green men from Mars?
Not quite that far out there, but they did consider some interesting possibilities. One theory was that the lights were from the testing of a lunar excursion module.
A lunar excursion module, like the ones they used for the Apollo moon landings?
Yeah, exactly.
What? Like they were testing it out in Nevada?
That's what they thought, but they quickly ruled it out.
Why? What happened?
The timing and location of the tests didn't match up with the sightings in Fremont.
Makes sense. They had to have pretty tight schedules with those moon missions.
Okay, so if it wasn't a lunar excursion module, what else did they consider?
They looked into the possibility that it was a night refueling exercise by Air Force tanker planes.
Oh, so like maybe those lights in the sky were just from the planes?
That was the idea, but that wouldn't explain everything, especially the objects hovering near the canyon rim and the scorch marks. Yeah, those scorch marks are hard to explain away. Okay, so what about the object that crashed into the house? Did they ever figure out what that was?
They thought it might have been a bolide, which is a really bright meteor that explodes in the atmosphere.
Ah, space rock then.
Basically, it could explain how an object crashed through the roof, but it wouldn't account for the other sightings or the markings near the canyon.
Okay, so we've got all these eyewitness accounts, physical evidence, but still no clear answers.
And just when you think it can't get any weirder, the lab reports come back from the samples taken at the canyon.
I bet those were interesting. So what do they find? Traces of alien DNA.
Not quite, but it was pretty strange. They found no radiation, no fuel residue, nothing you'd expect from something that made those scorch marks.
So what are we talking about? Magic fire here.
But there was evidence of extremely high temperatures.
Okay, so something was hot enough to scorch the ground, but it didn't leave behind any normal evidence.
Exactly. It's like something was there, something incredibly hot, but it vanished without a trace.
Wow. Talk about a head scratcher. This is already way more than just lights in the sky. We're talking about something that seems to defy physics.
It really does make you wonder what we're dealing with here, and we're just getting started.
You're telling me there's more to this story. I can't wait to hear what else happened.
Oh yeah, we're just scratching the surface. The deeper we go, the more questions we uncover.
Well, let's keep digging then. I'm hooked.
Yeah.
I mean, that's crazy, right? Intense heat, but nothing to explain it.
It really is. I mean, this is real life for the people involved. Think about Armstrong reporting something like this.
Yeah, a small town cop. It must have been tough. Did people even believe him?
Well, at first, yeah, there was some curiosity, even support. He was well respected, after all.
I bet that changed pretty quickly, though. Not exactly dinner table conversation.
You're telling me I can only imagine the rumors, the whispers.
Small towns, everyone knows everyone's business.
People started questioning his sanity, said he was making it all up.
Ouch, I bet that stung.
Yeah, some even said he was trying to cover something else up. Who knows?
That's rough. It must have been really hard on him and his family.
Oh, it was. His kids got bullied at school. People were constantly questioning his wife.
Oh, man, that's awful. Can you talk more about that? Like, how did this affect their everyday lives?
Sure. So his kids were taunted, ostracized. People would make snide remarks, whisper behind their backs, even made up cruel rumors.
Jeez, kids can be so mean sometimes.
It made going to school a nightmare for them and his wife. She had to deal with the constant questioning from people she'd known for years. It really tore their community apart.
That's heartbreaking. This wasn't just some abstract event. It had real consequences for them.
You're right. It affected their relationships, their jobs, their whole sense of normalcy.
In the transcript, it says that Armstrong eventually quit the police force.
Yeah, he just couldn't take it anymore. The pressure, the disbelief, it was too much.
I can understand that. I mean, imagine going to work every day, knowing people are talking behind your back, doubting your every word.
He just wanted to protect his family. So, yeah, they ended up leaving Fremont altogether.
Wow, so they had to uproot their whole lives and move because of this.
It's pretty sad, really.
Yeah.
A guy who served his community forced to leave because of something he couldn't explain.
Makes you wonder how many other people out there have seen things, experienced things, but are too afraid to speak up.
I think about that a lot. The fear of ridicule, the potential for losing your job, is a powerful silencer.
Absolutely. People are afraid of being labeled crazy or a liar. It's easier to just stay silent.
But didn't the townspeople eventually come around? The report mentioned something about that.
Yeah, there was this kind of a redemption moment right before they left. As they were packing up, a group of townspeople showed up at their house.
Oh, wow. What happened? Did they apologize or something?
Yeah, kind of. They came to express their support for Armstrong, told him they believed him.
So they finally realized they'd been wrong to judge him.
It sounds like it. They acknowledged the difficulties he'd faced and said they respected his honesty.
That must have meant a lot to him, having his community finally believe him.
It's amazing how sometimes human connection can overcome those barriers of fear and uncertainty. It's like they realized that even if they couldn't understand what happened, they could still support their friend and neighbor.
It makes you think about how we treat people who have these kinds of experiences.
Hmm.
Do we dismiss them? Do we listen with open minds?
That's a really good question. You know, it's interesting because this whole idea of encountering the unknown, it's not limited to everyday people like Armstrong.
What do you mean?
Well, the transcript mentions that even Major Gatlin, the Project Bluebook investigator, had his own UFO encounter.
Really? Like before he joined Project Bluebook?
Years before, actually. He was ferrying a B-25 bomber across the country when he saw something strange in the sky.
What did he see?
A metallic disc, he said. Huge, way bigger than any aircraft he'd ever seen.
So like a classic flying saucer.
Pretty much. And it was moving like crazy, super fast, doing these maneuvers that should have been impossible.
I mean, he's a pilot, right? He knew what planes could and couldn't do.
Exactly. Even Gatlin, with all his experience, couldn't explain what he saw that day.
Wow. So even the people investigating UFOs have seen them.
It just goes to show that these things can happen to anyone, you know, pilot, scientist, police officer, doesn't matter.
Did Gallon ever say how that experience changed him? Like, did it make him a more, I don't know, a more open-minded investigator?
He did, actually. There's a note in the file where he talks about how it shook him up. He'd always been a logical guy by the book, but after that, he started to think maybe there were things out there we just don't understand yet.
I can see that.
Yeah.
Makes me wonder how many other people, like scientists, pilots, have seen things they can't explain but are too afraid to talk about it.
It's got to be a lot, right? I mean, think about the stigma, people losing their jobs, their reputations.
It's easier to stay silent.
Sadly, yeah. Okay, so back to the Fremont incident. What was the final verdict? Did Project Bluebook ever figure out what happened?
Well, that's the thing. They never did.
Really? After all that, no answers.
Nope. Officially, it's still unsolved. They just labeled it as unknown and closed the case.
Unknown. That's going to be frustrating, right? All those reports, the evidence, and then nothing.
Yeah, it's kind of a letdown. I mean, we want answers.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it makes it even more intriguing, doesn't it?
Totally. It leaves us with all these questions, makes you wonder what we're really dealing with here.
Do you know, like that Arthur C. Clarke quote? Any sufficiently advanced technology is indistinguishable from magic. Maybe that's what happened in Fremont. Maybe it was technology so advanced that it just seemed like, I don't know, something supernatural.
Yeah, like we're looking at something from a million years in the future and our brains just can't even process it.
Makes you think, doesn't it? So, what do you believe happened that night in the desert? Was Armstrong really telling the truth? Are we alone in the universe? Or is there something else out there?
Big questions, right? And those are the questions that keep us coming back to these stories, keep us searching for answers.
It's a reminder that we're still explorers at heart. We're curious. We want to understand our place in the universe.
And even if we don't have all the answers, it's the search that matters, the journey of discovery.
Exactly. Maybe someday we'll have the technology, the understanding to explain what happened in Fremont. Until then, I guess we just keep looking up and keep asking those big questions.
Absolutely. Keep that curiosity alive.
Well, folks, that's it for tonight. We've gone deep into the heart of the Fremont incident. We've explored the evidence, the eyewitness accounts, the official investigation. But, like so many of these cases, we're left with more questions than answers.
But hey, that's what makes it fun, right?
Absolutely. Keep those minds open and those eyes on the skies. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the unknown. Until next time.